Let's
Bring it
talk.
on.
Let's talk
Unfiltered, baby.
Yeah.
This is an
I'm gonna
unfiltered thoughts.
go get my swear jar.
Go get the. So this is about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I do want to start this off with everybody here has enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake. So if you're watching this, don't get triggered. If we're going to say something that maybe you didn't agree with, it's just, you know what I mean. We all love Final Fantasy VII, as you could tell for the past 2 hours that we've been talking about it.
We'll probably say things that each of us don't agree with.
I mean, yeah, I was
Right
going to say,
now. Like,
this is going to be a diverse conversation, which is great, which I love. I love that. I'm glad that we have people in this chat, in particular, who absolutely adored it and loved it. For me, I'll start it off, and I want to make it just don't hold back just because we're a YouTube channel. You know, you don't want to. Hopefully, we're not going to lose followers or whatever. But so yeah.
I don't think we're gonna say anything like so offensive.
Right.
Obviously,
people have just sat through the last 2 hours and heard our stories about how much Final Fantasy VII means to us. So, for me, Remake is probably my game of the year. I'll start off with that. It's probably my game of the year, which is going to sound weird after with the following comments. So it is my game of the year, that and Last of Us Part 2. So
all right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I first beat, or I guess I'll start back. I'm going to start back. You saw how excited I was earlier in the show when they announced Remake. And I played through, or I mean waited so long for Remake. That was back when they announced Remake. That was back in 2015. So that was 2015 when they announced it. But if we go back even further, we go back to 2005, which we touched on a little bit, when Sony and Square kind of bamboozled us with a PS3 tech demo, showcasing Final Fantasy VII.
Like it was hot.
Yeah, they showed us Final Fantasy VII Remade, the intro remade, and the funny thing is they knew exactly what they were doing, because there's always been this silent demand at that point for a remake. Like, people wanted to see Final Fantasy VII with PS3 graphics in 3D space. And then they showed us that tech demo. And what they did was they piggybacked on that hype because they wanted to announce the compilation of Final Fantasy VII. So thus begins the fantasization, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, the romance of Final Fantasy VII.
The romance, baby.
Yeah, like this love for Final Fantasy VII world, where the developers obviously just didn't want to let go. They wanted to keep creating content for Final Fantasy VII, whether it be that it brought in a lot of money, or if it's just, we got to go back to that world. Maybe they themselves did not like how they left it. I don't know. Because let's be honest, the ending of the original Final Fantasy VII is very left wide open. You know what I mean? In fact, it might not even be a good ending, because the planet retakes everything.
They all gone, baby.
So that this probably will be a good setup for Osby to explain why he loves Remake. But so I personally enjoyed the ending. I was fine with it. In fact, at this point, when Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus were coming out, I honestly did not get into it that much. I was just like, you know what, whatever. Final Fantasy VII, the original, is the game that I absolutely love. Whatever they're doing here is whatever they're doing. I don't understand. Like, the story begins and ends with 7 for me. At that point, then in 2007 they released Crisis Core. So Crisis Core I actually really enjoyed. I hated Genesis, loathed Genesis. I thought that was the most ignorant idea to bring in another villain when they already had Sephiroth, which is the most iconic villain. You did not need Genesis. So they bring in Genesis. I ignored it. Once again, it wasn't really affecting me too much. I did enjoy playing as Zack. Zack dies the way it's meant to be. But at the end of it, and plus also one of the most emotional scenes in any Final Fantasy. Oh yeah, we're there. In any Final Fantasy game for me, even possibly surpassing Aerith, because I didn't know she was going to die. I knew Zach was going to die, and I knew it was coming. But when it happened, I was like, man, they did that good. They did that so good. And it was just with the rain, Zach bringing Cloud's head in on. He's like, "You are my living legacy." Like, oh, so good. Anyways, that was 2007 when they did that. What they did after the credits, though, was show another redone opening of Final Fantasy VII, and it says, with Cloud riding on the train, and it says to be continued in Final Fantasy VII. And I'm like, what do you mean, Square?
What?
What is that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Damn it!
They knew it, man.
What do you mean?
They knew it.
That's how I felt. I'm sorry.
They knew that we wanted a remake. In fact, we started calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have a video on my other YouTube channel that was a prediction before they announced it, when I was like, Final Fantasy VII Remake announcement? I was already calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake before they called it Remake. So they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what we wanted. In 2011, I'm giving you guys a history lesson here. In 2011, back when a website, I don't know if you guys ever went to it, but I did for all my gaming news, the magic-box.com. The magicbox.com was, they always had the news before anybody else. Hideo Kojima, the creator of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, sat down with Yoichi Owada and none other than Nomura himself. And Kojima told Nomura, remake Final Fantasy VII. Do it. Okay? In 2012, Square Enix addresses the demands for a Final Fantasy VII remake, and they said that they will not remake Final Fantasy VII until another Final Fantasy surpasses the quality of 7. That was I don't have the links for this, by the way, but it's real. So they said that in 2015, they finally did it. They announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. The promise has been made. So this is where the issue with this game begins for me. This is where it begins. They called it Final Fantasy VII Remake. They knew exactly what they were doing to call it Final Fantasy VII Remake. Fans were pleading for a remake of Final Fantasy VII. We want to experience our childhood memories, all the things that we just talked about for the past 2 hours. We wanted to experience that in a 3D modern design. When we say remake, and now I will address all of those people out there that are saying you wanted a remaster, I will address all of that. A remaster is not what we wanted. If you want a remaster, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is out, and that's just they polish it up, right? They remastered 7 for Steam, where they polished it up. A remaster is different from a remake. Okay, so Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 are remakes. They hold true with I guess the exception of a few things missing from Resident Evil 2 and 3, but they hold true to it. Remake the game for modern day. That's exactly what we wanted in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So 2020 comes around, or well, first of all, 2019 happens, and I got to play Final Fantasy VII Remake at E3. One of the second wave of people, including the industry members, to get in. And I played the opening bombing mission. And let me tell you, man, I was like, they freaking nailed it. This is exactly what I wanted. Everything was holding true to the original. It was updated. It was remade. The battle system, perfect. Everything was perfect. Voice acting, perfect. John Eric Bentley. Everything perfect. And I was like, listen, they got this. They got this in the bag. 2020, April 10th, Final Fantasy VII Remake releases. Of course, COVID is going on, and unfortunately, during the pandemic, unfortunately, lots of people have got it. I go Facebook dark. I shut down all socials. I do not. I had a Final Fantasy VII group made on Facebook. Shut it down. I said, I'm getting rid of this. I don't want to hear anybody talk about it.
He was like, deuces.
Bye guys. Thank you for enjoying the hype since 2015 or two. Yeah.
It's been real. Adios.
Yeah. So I shut it down. I didn't want to hear about it. from the trailers, I started getting a little nervous. I was like, what the heck are these flying ghosts? Started getting me a little bit. But then I was reassured by the developers themselves when they would say in the interviews, oh, we wanted to make sure we remained true and faithful to the original. They said it multiple times. We're going to change some story elements to fit in and make it cohesive. These are the kind of things that they would say. And I expected, okay, so meeting Jesse's parents. That's one of the change ups. Okay, I like that. That's cool. Just other things that they added in. Cool. I'm glad with it. I was actually happy with it. They completely redid Wall Market, and I think they did an amazing job with it. But every time those whispers came on screen, I got nervous. I was like, what is that? So when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, the most hype I've ever been for a game, I was shaking. I was so excited to play this game. In fact, when they revealed the box art, I had tears. I was so excited. Yeah, I was so excited for this game. The box art, I was like, oh my God, they remade the box art too? Oh God. So yeah, I played this game. As I'm going through it, the hype level, it was a roller coaster. Hype levels, excitement, enjoyment, all the way up at the top. And then what the whispers? The heck is that? Okay, it's all good though, because we're back to doing our thing. We play Wall Market. What the heck is that? You know what I mean? What is that? The train graveyard after doing that. Wait, why are these whispers holding me back? Oh, come on. What is going on here? That's okay. We get to the plate. This is epic. I know Jesse's going to die, man. She was so cool in this game. They built her up so good. What the whispers coming in my face like that? Like, oh wait, that didn't sound good. So the whispers getting all up in my face.
Rewind that back.
That's what I don't know if it felt like that or not, but so the whispers getting all up in my face, man. What are you doing? They taking me out of the moment. Biggs is dying, and what's happening now? I didn't feel the emotion that I wanted to feel. I was like, what are they doing here? And then when Jesse happens, what are they doing? Why are they taking me out of this moment? And then the plate drops. They got a good amount of the people out. I was like, okay, well, that's fine, I guess. I mean, still everybody, it's very impactful. A lot of people die. The city just dropped on them.
Literally impactful. It was like a metal avalanche.
Right. They did that so amazing. I was like, oh my God, now we're back. They even did the rope swing out. Come on. Also, go back a little bit to Aerith in the church. I was like, why am I not able to throw freaking barrels down? I wanted to throw barrels so bad at soldiers, and then I was like, what are the whispers doing? Every time that I wanted to do something and relive a moment from Final Fantasy VII, they purposely put in whispers to just make me mad. And I was like, what are they doing? I wanted to throw barrels, and then whispers were in the way. I wanted to to really be in the moment for the death scenes. Whispers get in the way. I was just, it was getting to me, right? But anyways, there were so many moments of elation, like so many moments of I just forgot about the whispers. I was just like, whatever, everything's fine. This is great. And then we get to the end when everything just starts going. They just went full on Kingdom Hearts. I don't know. I was like, this is a Kingdom Hearts game at this point now. I was getting a little upset. Things were not happening the way I wanted it to. The blood trail was purple ooze. The things were just not working. Shinra did not die the way Barrett gets stabbed. What? Come on now. And then he's coming back to life because of the whispers. I would actually have been okay if Barrett just died. I would be like, oh my God. And then he comes back to life with a whisper.
John Eric Bentley, on the other hand,
would not have been. Yeah, he would have had more almonds, more chocolate almonds for him. But I would have been I would have been okay with that, guys. And then the whispers bring him back. I'm like, oh God, what is happening here? So then they start talking about defying fate. And Red 13 starts, it's all starting to click. I'm like, I see what's happening here. I know what's happening. We're doing time travel. I've played Final Fantasy 13, the trilogy, and it did not work. What are you doing? Same story writer? Oh boy. I was like, this is I'm getting the plan that they planted the seed of uncertainty for me. And I was like, what is happening? I wasn't even able to really fully enjoy what was going on screen at the end until I replayed it maybe the third time. I was like, oh wow, this is actually really a spectacle to behold. Like this is a genius game development right here. Like I'm loving what I'm seeing. This is Advent Children in a video game form. Um, but in the moment, I was just like, who is the Heartless back there? Why am I fighting the giant Heartless right now? Like, how did I step into a Kingdom Hearts game? That's all I could think. I was like, this is literally a Kingdom Hearts boss. I'm surprised I'm not flying around. That was it. And fighting Sephiroth at the end, I was like, they threw in the one-on-one scene where it was like flashing back and forth, the face off, and I'm like, oh, what? I mean, I was like, I love it, but this, that's at the end of the game. What are you doing? So that was those were my thoughts, and I'm sorry that that went on for a little while, but I wanted to get it all out for the first time, just finally get it out in the open, not like and more of a coherent thought process rather than when I first beat the game. I took a video, or my wife took a video, and I didn't know what she was recording, and I was talking to my brother just so mad. I had to post that on YouTube, and it got a lot of hate, of course, but it was also very, in a way, comforting when other people would chime in and say, "Dude, I'm with you," and I was like, "Thank you, man." I just like, is somebody feels like how I feel. Now, with that said, I do want to say my last little bit here. With all of that said, and time has passed, which I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I'm being serious when I say this. I was depressed. Like, it put me in a depression after I played that game. I was like, they betrayed me. Like, I felt so betrayed. They promised me one thing, and then for the sake of a shock value or whatever they wanted to do, continue the franchise, the compilation story, they bait and switched. They called it remake. They did exactly what they wanted to do. Yes, I know it's a double entendre. I know that remake is a remake of the story. I get that, or the universe, or whatever they're doing. I get that, but they didn't call it remake to. They called it remake because they knew that people wanted remakes, a remake of the Final Fantasy VII. I felt betrayed. I felt I always think like, man, I'm never going to get that Final Fantasy VII remake. Never. Like, they're never going to do it. And that hurts. And it's like, man, god dang it. I know I have the original. I can always go back to the original. But I wanted to say, I want the style of remake. I want that. So yeah, I think that they could have solely relied on nostalgia to further the series. I don't think they needed to introduce new story plots to keep it exciting. I think people would have been just excited to see Barrett in a sailor suit. People would have been excited to see Aerith dying, like they knew it's going to happen. But wow, man, I'm even more attached to her than I was in the original, which is insane. So yeah, I think they could have just relied on the beauty. And we talked about the themes of Seven. We talked about how it's life and death, and we talk about the importance of it. And now, if you think back on it, nobody's dead, and nobody could die. Like, I mean, like it's they're taking the impact away. Sure, they could probably in Remake 2 make it happen, but Biggs is not dead. Jesse's probably alive. Zach is not dead. Where's the impact? You know what I mean? So I know that they won't forget the themes. They can't forget the theme of Seven. They're the developers. You know what I mean? I have to have trust in that. So, sorry, this one's going on for a while, but I wanted to get it all out. Yeah. So with that said, I've played Final Fantasy VII Remake 4 times. Played it all the way through. I love the game.
Damn.
Damn. Ooh, girl. Go ahead, Osby.
I'm sorry. Ooh, girl.
I've played it 4 times. I've gotten everything in the game. Like, so when you go to that stat sheet or whatever, all the enemies assessed, all the blah, 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 the full everything out of everything, platinum trophy, good to go. So yeah, it's it's got to be my game of the year. I have never I love that game so much. It's just the story at times
I
has
just
me
have to ask. Just have to ask. It hurt you that deeply, so much that you had to do it 3 other times.
I had to do it 3 other times, and I think that's where it happens, man. It's like it's in my mind that I have to love this game. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's where it starts. It's like I have to love this. This is Final Fantasy VII. You know what I mean? And so I get to the point where I'm like, I have to play it again. I have to give it another chance. And I have to keep giving it more chances. And I have to get excited about where the story is going to go. Partly a reason why I started Final Fan TV was like, I want to talk about it. I want to be excited about it. And it's a personal struggle for me. Just because of how impactful the game was on me, the original. And now I have to like be on board with this. And I want to be on board with it. And I feel like I am on board with it. I feel like I've gotten past the acceptance stage of my grief. And now I think I'm excited. I know I'm excited for where seeing locations being remade and the story. I know I have a understanding of what this is now. It's not a remake. I've come to grips with that. This is a sequel, and they're going to continue the story. And you would be a fool to think that even still lying to us, boys. When Tabata, please assume that Final Fantasy VII will continue the way as Final Fantasy VII has always done. That's an actual quote. And I'm like, and it's like, come on, dude, you're still lying, really? The game, there's no way that it's going to follow the original story. There's no way that it does. We know that this is a sequel. So, anyways, and that's where I'm at with it. That's it. In conclusion, felt betrayed. Accepted what this is.
I feel like you should be laying on a couch right now, and we should all be smoking corncob pipes.
taking notes on our little notepad.
Yeah. The funny thing is I had no notes to go off. I'm just like speaking from the mind here. All right, guys. So I'm sorry that went on for a long time here. Yeah, that one went on a long time. I did want to get it all out and understand that I am excited for these. I enjoyed the game at the end. And at the end of the day, I played it 4 times. I love the game. It's probably my game of the year.
It mentally abused me, but I enjoyed it.
It's so weird. How do you think I feel? So yeah, that was my rant, and I hope everybody can kind of be on board with what I'm saying, like, or at least understand me. So where it's not like, oh, he hates Remake, because I don't. I hope that's not what you got out of that. I hope you get that it's my game of the year. Out of it. So
I think
it's just a struggle.
I mean, we're all different. You're just a Puritan when it comes to it.
I think
I'm not a Puritan. See, that's where. Okay, I'm glad that you're bringing it up, because these are comments that are going to happen when you're
more of a Puritan.
Yeah, it's like we're like, well, you wanted a 1-to-1, and it's like, not really. If they would have said, hey guys, we're making Final Fantasy VII 2, or we're making a Final Fantasy VII, and we're going to be taking the story completely different. If they were honest, I would have been like, okay, I know what to expect. Thank you. I would have been mad that I'm not getting the remake, but at least I would have known what I was playing.
I think you brought up something during your rant so you said that you feel like you have to love this because it's Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I think that's everybody's problem right now, is that, like, you know, I love Final Fantasy VII Remake as its own Final Fantasy, but I do not love it as a Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's a great game, but I don't love it as a Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I mean, it's only the first part out. So, like, you know, I don't have a thought on it one way or the other, because like I was kind of upset with the whispers, and, you know, that it threw the pacing off for me with the game. But, you know, it's not what we were promised. And to kind of like white knight Final Fantasy VII Remake, I just think, like, you shouldn't go around harassing people or hating on people because they don't like the same game that you like. Like, for me to dislike Final Fantasy VII Remake, just means that I love the original so much that I really wish they didn't change so much about the remake. I still love the remake as a Final Fantasy, but it hurt coming to terms with the fact of I'm never going to get what I thought we were promised, which is maybe not a 1-for-1, but follow that story. They had a winning formula. I don't know why they needed to change it, but just because it says Final Fantasy VII on it doesn't mean you have to love it, and it doesn't mean you have to hate on people who don't agree with you. Because
yeah, I mean, I come to terms with that with Dirge of Cerberus. Like, I don't like that game, but I don't hate anybody that likes it.
yeah, it's Dirge of Cerberus is still a Final Fantasy VII, spinoff, but like I played through the whole thing. Like it was kind of bad. It wasn't a great Final Fantasy spinoff. Like,
I
It was
still haven't
enjoyable, but
played
it was
it.
bad. It was like a good B movie kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I
The
still to
story
this
felt like a
day
good movie too.
have not played that, and I have no regrets. And which is
Yeah.
really sad because
The-
7
the
is
whole-
like my favorite thing in the world in terms of video games and stories. And Dirge of Cerberus can eat a bag of dicks.
Oh, he said it again, everyone.
I was gonna say
that's-
2 times got to make it the motto, right?
that's a new giveaway. Yeah. No, the whole point of Dirge of Cerberus is to remind you that Vincent is the incarnate of a weapon and to create the Vincent UV ship.
Yep, there you go.
I mean, I bought the game.
and bring back Genesis for some.
I don't hate Genesis the way you hate him. I
Yeah.
actually really like Crisis Core. I didn't like some of the ways that they used him in Crisis Core. Like man, you can like Loveless, but you don't have to quote it constantly. like even Sephiroth even says like, how could I not know it when you beat it in our heads? And he's like, well, I'm still gonna say it every time before we spar. Like, here we go.
I bought
you
this
get it,
shit,
man.
guys.
You like
I
it.
bought it.
I bought it for my
Holding up
brother's
the dirt.
New.
birthday, and
I bought it
don't think he
new.
ever played it.
Never played it.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree, man. Well, Crisis Core was really good, and that was once again, like I said, it was at a point where I wasn't like too like worried about compilation stuff. I was like, well, it's not going to trickle into my original Final Fantasy VII experience. Now it has, but but so I was like, oh well. Advent Children. Let's be honest, guys. Not a very
Director's
good
cut
movie.
was much better. The one that we got, like the DVD, was awful. The actual director's like Japanese cut is 10 times better.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess if you don't have to hear "mother," if you don't have to hear that, I think that's good. But and like, don't cry. I was like, what is the dialogue?
Oh no,
I was
what
really
was,
concerned for remake. I was like, please don't have this dialogue in remake, like where it was
what
like,
was it?
don't cry.
I was sitting with my one of my best friends, and we were watching Advent Children, and it was the first time he'd ever seen it, and I was like, just there's some dialogue in this that's kind of funny. So it's like the part where it's like Tifa's like scolding Cloud, and she's like, diddly daddly shiddly shadly, and my friend's just like, what you talking about, bitch?
What you talking about?
Wait a second, repeat that.
It's like, what you talking about, bitch? It's like, it's diddly daddly.
It's
Oh,
dilly
no.
dally shilly shally. You must have lost weight. I feel lighter.
Oh, God.
All that dilly dallying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'd still quote the whole movie too.
It's so like right. It's like Revenge of the Sith when the dialogue is cheesy, but you love it. It's like you quote it. But maybe it's not like Revenge of the Sith. I'm sorry, that's too much praise. But the final fight though, Sephiroth and Cloud. That's what makes that movie. Anyways,
Yeah,
remake
for sure.
thoughts, Reed.
Yeah, so I like when the Phantoms and all that first started coming up, I wasn't like, it just kind of had no context,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the most upsetting thing at the time, is just like, it just kind of seems like it's like thrown in there. But obviously, as we've discussed with me, I love like theory crafting and stuff, so in my little wormy brain, I've kind of like put things together that I kind of came to terms with it pretty quick, and I actually really enjoyed it. I love the things that it like opens up to later. I never got to recruit Zack in Final Fantasy VII, like Brady Games promised me, but I might get to see him in Final Fantasy VII 2,
Mhm.
which I would actually really like. And no matter what happens, like Aerith already said in her Garden spoilers, that there's like only one more thing that she really needs to do, which is die. So she knows like that's still gonna happen.
Mhm.
Um, so I still adhere to my theory that the Aerith in your party is the previous, because it can be a remake because time
Mhm.
is
I think,
like what's the word? But anyway,
yeah.
she died. She's in the live stream, and then she goes back to her previous body, and because the last shot of Final Fantasy VII is Aerith in the live stream, and then the first shot of Seven Remake is zooming like from a first person into Aerith, like it's
Mhm.
like
Like
her
she's
soul
coming,
from the live stream.
yeah,
Yeah,
coming down into it.
and she says throughout the game, like when certain things happen, she's like losing pieces of herself and stuff like that because timeline's changing.
Mhm.
So the whispers of fate are trying to keep, and it's a metaphor for people who want the remake to be exactly the same.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
a
the whispers of fate are there to make things happen when they kind of look like they might be different. That's kind of like their way of addressing like the fan base. And I get that. Was it the remake I expected? No, but I got more excited about where it could go from there. Because I mean, I've played Final Fantasy VII enough. Like I know how it is, and I would love to see a lot of the things in Final Fantasy VII happen with like modern technology and stuff. But I think it's still going to be close enough, and you're still going to see it's still the same world, still the same characters, all that stuff. I think we're still going to see a lot of things that revolve around the same story done the same way, or like just modernized and stuff. So I'm good with it. The bear, honestly, the hardest thing I had was the wedge, because I
yeah.
mean, just getting thrown off a building, and then Barrett, like the Barrett thing. Those are the two things that I actually like dislike, like straight up just did not like.
Mhm.
But as for the rest of it, like I'm actually really excited where it goes. So that's my bit.
Okay. Yeah, as a theory crafter and like yourself, it is exciting to kind of like piece together. Like if we love watching Lost, where you're just like when you first watch Lost, you're like, oh my god, what you have to build what's happening, come up with a ton of theories. Game of Thrones, we had so many theories
Yeah.
of where it's gonna go. So it's exciting. And then Kingdom Hearts 3, I was well, they dropped the ball there too, but like for Kingdom Hearts 3, like I had so many theories going into that. Like we talked about Kingdom Hearts universe so much because it was so convoluted and it worked for Kingdom Hearts. Like for Kingdom Hearts, it was known for its convoluted story. Like that was its thing, and that was fine. And I love theory crafting that game. Uh yeah, I agree, man. It's just, I get what you're saying.
One
I get what you're saying.
one thing I'll definitely say though is, and this is where they'll lose me, but it would be so funny and amazing to see, is like it just shows um Sephiroth go through like the mithril cave and impale the Zolom, and then like but the Whispers of Fate bring the Midgar Zolom back to life.
We're back.
Like no, not my mega worm.
Oh man. So
Dude, wait.
let's.
Does
Oh,
he does oh it's fine. If you can't get past like the mithril cave because the Zolom keeps killing you with his enemy skill, which we all know the name of, would that technically make you or make him a beta cuck? And
there's
that's
your.
it for me.
Reed signing off with his thoughts on that.
Thanks
We
for
go.
joining us
We,
in at Final Fantasy TV for the.
You beta.
we go
Oh
to.
god.
We go to. We're bringing it over to Osby now. I have word that Osby is quite a fan of the Final Fantasy VII remake, and he would like to share his thoughts. Now, Osby, what are your thoughts on Final Fantasy VII remake?
All right, so I need to say
Unfiltered,
this,
baby. Go for it. I wanna hear it.
before I say anything else. I enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake. It clicked with me pretty early on that it was Aerith retelling the story or changing the story because she understood what was happening. The ending was very confusing at first. I had to go back and rewatch I've probably watched the ending sequence of the game 5 or 6 times. I haven't replayed it yet. I need to. I really need to replay the game. I really feel like everything that happens in 7, with the exception of weird interjections from Fate or whatever else Square Enix throws at us, I think it's still going to happen. I think they're still going to go to the same locations. I think Aerith or somebody very important is going to die, probably Aerith. And I think ultimately it's still going to end with Cloud and Sephiroth standing in that same spot. And you have the final battle, and that's Final Fantasy VII. Now, how do I feel about Biggs, Jesse, Wedge, all these changes? There's a lot of theories floating around, and a lot of theories are, or the theory in my mind is that they're still dead in the world that Cloud and Aerith are in. If Aerith can recreate her own world, if she can go back in time with her live stream and have this endless loop happening, what we're seeing are what ifs, possibilities that could converge
Soldier.
at possibilities that
possibilities.
could converge at a specific point. For example, Cloud loses his mind and has to be taken. Was it Midel in the game where he's so far into Mako poisoning, the specifics escape me at the moment, but he's gone. He's just a shell. Tifa goes into his mind, pulls him back out. Who's to say that those other possibilities that could be happening, let's say alternate realities, alternate timelines, if you want to get a little far out there with it, who's to say when that point happens in the game, Cloud ends up in one of those, all these people are still alive, holy shit, there's Zack, the entire storyline has changed, and then something in that event happens to pull him back up and he comes back. Who's to say that Square Enix isn't changing as much as we think? Yeah, the whispers, yeah, Fate's changing. I still think we're going to get the same story. If Aerith doesn't die at this point, I would be shocked. I do like the possibility that we live in a world where Aerith survives. I know that changes everything. But I still feel like I didn't hate it as much as Daniel did. Daniel texted me. He said, "Text me when you beat it." I texted him the 2 words, "Holy shit."
And I was like,
he responded with, "Holy shit, shit indeed." And I'm just like, oh boy, we have 2 different thoughts on this. I granted, I was confused and concerned, but I didn't hate it when I beat it. It's the greatest game you could play right now if you like the original Final Fantasy VII. It is not Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
And that's okay. It sucks that it's not the full 1-to-1 remake. Fuck, dude, we're never going to get the 1-to-1 remake. And that's fine. You don't know why? Because you can walk into the church and step on those flowers in new 3D environments. You can watch Reno stroll in and be like, "What's up, man? Hey,
Right.
Tear you up in this church." That we're going to get every moment that we want in this remake, this compilation. Every scene, we're going to get to see it in high-end 3D on PS4 and now PS5 and other consoles, whatever Square Enix decides to do. Now we have fully voiced, updated casts. They're expanding on it so much by giving us the original and putting a new spin on it with the whispers and updated Aerith shenanigans and LOL Final Fantasy -2, whatever, however they want to spin it. And I'm excited because I know, but I don't know what's coming next. I know how Final Fantasy VII ends, and that's the ultimate goal. I wasn't depressed. I couldn't play a game when I first beat it. because I was like, well, shit, what do I do now?
Do you ever
Waiting
let
all
your
these.
do you ever let your mind think about the word possibilities? Do you ever let your mind think about that? Like, you're assuming you're thinking like, oh yeah, the story's gonna go exactly the way I think it's gonna go, and of course these moments will happen, but they might be different. There might be a spin on it, like there wasn't in the original or in the remake. And now instead of this key story element happening, a different key story element is happening at the gold saucer, but you're still at the gold saucer. Um, but do you ever let your mind think, what if they are not going to continue the way you think? What if it is like, yeah, all the locations will be there, and would you still be satisfied with the world still intact, but the story is completely jacked up? Like, so if you think about, would you be okay if Aerith actually did not die? Would you be okay if the ending of Final Fantasy VII remake is actually, it ends in the next chapter? Like maybe it's a two-part. Like they don't need to follow the story at this point. Would you be okay if it ended completely differently? Would you be okay if Sephiroth was actually being a good guy trying to come back and stopping Genova? Because now he's like, oh, she used me, I'm going to get back at her, or something like that. Would you be okay with all of these possibilities that Square Enix can and maybe will implement?
Let me say this. Here's what we know. We know it's the same world. We know it's the same physical locations. They may not go in the same order, but they still, if they're trying to ultimately get to the damn crater, they have to hit some of these points in order to get there.
Yeah.
So they still have to get to these certain points. There are significant pieces of story elements, pieces of plot that still have to unfold in a similar manner in order for them to get there. Yes, it might not happen exactly the same way. But the goal, even in their remake world, the goal is to stop Sephiroth. Aerith knows she has to die. So those two story elements are the same. If this is a continuation of the story, why is it a continuation of the story? Why did Aerith need to redo all this? Why is this happening? Is it because the ambiguous ending from Final Fantasy VII that insinuates everybody died without actually saying it?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's to assume that remake is going to follow the original is, I think it's a little wild to think that, because they wouldn't have done what they did. Like you said, there's a reason. Like, why would you do this? It's because they have an ultimate end game here.
What'd be pretty cool is if so we've already discussed like Genova's kind of infected the live stream. So when the live stream comes up to like stop Meteor, and yeah, so when there's like that explosion stuff, and like the live stream kind of gets blown apart all over the place, and that's where like the geostigma comes from in Advent Children. So like, what if in Advent Children you only see them like fight off Sephiroth again, but you don't see like that's like a COVID pandemic for them. Like, what if a geostigma actually like wiped out the human population? That's why 500 years later Reds just run through ruins. Or what if, because Aerith, and this is super tinfoily, but I love this idea, because Aerith becomes a part of the live stream and like kind of commandeers the live stream, becomes like a focal force in the live stream to stop Meteor. What if she was infected by Genova?
Yeah. Also, if you read On the Way to a Smile, I believe it does say, I don't have the exact quote, but I do know that Sephiroth's body is not dissolved into the live stream, so he's able to remain Sephiroth within the live stream, and so is Aerith.
They definitely both came back.
And that's why everybody's like, oh yeah, they're back. Either Aerith is communicating to Aerith through the live stream, like, because Aerith can talk to the live stream or talk to the planet. So either Aerith is communicating to her and like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and that's why she's always talking to flowers and stuff, so that way Aerith can talk to her through that. And then Sephiroth is, I don't know if he's like physically there, or if there's, I think they said multiple Sephiroths going on right now. Like, I don't know. Like, there could be the Sephiroth at the end of Advent Children, and there could be the Sephiroth that's Genova's controlling, and you got you have a couple different Sephiroths.
I mean, I still believe that Cloud is the only one that's seeing Sephiroth for most of the game, and the rest of the party is seeing the clones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're seeing the clones with the robes. Like look at when he escapes the Shinra. It was a clone with the Genova piece jumping off the building, but Cloud's seeing Sephiroth, and everybody's like, okay, cool. Well, once again, it's
yeah,
the way you interpret it, I guess.
All of the original things that are going on, like, so you have Genova using Sephiroth, you still have the clones going on, you still so there is a bunch of different Sephiroths going on right now, which is weird, but yeah, I mean, so like we're theory crafting right now, and I think that's what I think that's the kind of the beauty in the chaos of this for me in my mind, is that now that I've accepted what this is, now I can enjoy theory crafting. I can say, oh man, what about this? I enjoyed doing it so long with these other shows that I mentioned, like Game of Thrones and stuff. It's like I enjoy doing it. Yeah. And then I always have it in the back of my mind, like, but why? Like, why am I doing this? I didn't need to do this. So that's the struggle that I always have. Like, I always have the struggle of like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like, now we can talk about where it's going, but it's like, like they had, like Vinny said, the winning formula. Like they already had such an amazing game that impacted so many people, and now it's got to be they had to do something else, because I think they're personally just not happy with how they ended the original. Either they ended the original and just didn't really think that it was going to have the impact that it did. I'm on the side of, once you release it, it's not yours anymore. Like if you're doing like Star Wars, right? Star Wars is no longer, like, it no longer became Lucas's. It became everybody who watched it and became so attached to it. And I think that's where so many like clashes happen. Like people have their own mindset of how things need to go. But I will say, on the Star Wars analogy, that wasn't written. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't fully written. Remake was already written, and what they're doing is going back. So I go back to maybe the analogy of like, how would you feel if they took A New Hope and completely said, oh, hey, by the way, Ezra went through that time loop thing, and then now he's going to just change it. Like, like we're just going to go ahead and change that. I don't think Star Wars fans would be happy with that. Like, I don't know if they would be happy with that. Even though, yeah, oh, hey, I'm back on Tatooine. No, it's like, this is not my Tatooine, like, so I think if you go off of that analogy, I'm just kind of like, that's where I try to relate it to somewhere else. Like if somebody like is a big Star Wars fan, maybe you get that. But yeah, so it's like, okay, back in the Star Wars universe, and I'm theory crafting, and this is great, but why? So that's
because yeah, I think when you like theory craft and you get to do this stuff, when you kind of create your own expectation, and then when you get the finished product, you get to say, okay, oh wow, well that's different than I thought, but then like those few things that you were right about, it's like, oh yes, I called it,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, and this is kind of where I understand with VII Remake, it's, if you just know everything that's already going to happen, nothing's going to surprise you. Nothing's, it's not going to be really the same. I think that they kind of had to change it up a little bit.
But see, all right, to that point though, like I think it was Soldier First Class who said this. There was a commercial that came out where it showed, they were like, here's a guy who's never played Final Fantasy VII,
Now here's a guy.
And then, they were like, now's the perfect time. Now's his perfect chance to play Final Fantasy VII and really get the feeling of the original. Well, don't market it as we are going to get something like that and then not, capitalize on that. Like if I was told, like what Daniel said, if I was told like, hey, we're making a whole bunch of changes to this, it's basically the same characters, same locations, and a little bit of the same story, but we're going to go in a completely different path, I wouldn't have been as upset. But to tell me that it's basically going to be a 1-for-1 and then not doing it, like that just seems wrong. Like, yeah, like we wouldn't be surprised, but at this point, like I don't need to be surprised. I just want I literally, and this, I might be alone in this, but I literally just want to see everything from the original in today's graphics, and that would have made me perfectly happy. Like, I don't care if I'm not surprised. That's all I wanted out of this.
Yeah, I'm on board with that 100%. I mean, like I said though, I'm okay with them adding the new story elements that they did, like Jesse and those little side quests and stuff. I was cool with that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to see what I remembered, the story that I loved, brought over into modern day. Another thing to kind of touch on that, when the promises that they made, when they were doing an interview, they said, yeah, when we sat down, we thought, okay, we can break this up into parts. And it was announced that it was going to be into parts. And he said, I can't remember who it was. It was like, well, we had the option. We could give you a kind of a digest of the story and put it all into one game. But we didn't think fans would be happy with that. So we decided to break it up into parts and focus this game solely on Midgar. And that was a I wish I had the links to all these so I can back up what I'm saying, but hopefully you guys have read that or something. But yeah, that was their promise. They were like, so in order to do everything and including adding a little bit to the story here and there, we had to do it in parts. And that was like, from there on, I was like, okay, that's a promise. I read it. Of course, you look back at it now and you see the trailers, you see the little differences and the little, the little things here and there in the trailers, and you're like, oh, I should have saw this coming. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is a fantastic game. And if I try to look at it without my nostalgia goggles on, or if I try to look at it without being upset that this is not a remake that was promised, I see it as like, wow, this is a fantastic game. That it's just
so you don't regret it. You don't regret playing it. You don't regret
right. I don't regret playing
experience.
it. Yeah, exactly. I don't regret playing it. Maybe at first I was, but like, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I don't regret playing it. I enjoyed it. And like Vinny said, if they were just honest at the beginning of it, of what this was going to be, instead of going for this, I think in the development process, they were like, oh my God, I have an idea. Let's give them a remake. You know what I mean? And then they just jumped on it from there. And I think, and then they like, dude, they're going to be people's minds are going to be so blown when they find out that this is not a remake. It's going to be the greatest twist in video game history. I don't know if it went over the way they thought it was going to go. I mean, it definitely was audacious.
So, when I first started playing this, my girlfriend was watching me play because she likes watching to get the story from video games. She doesn't like play too many of them. Like, she watches me play Monster Hunter, and she just, enjoys the story and the art behind the games and everything. And then once I started getting to the parts with the whispers and I saw like how things were changing, I was just like, you can't watch me play this anymore. You got to watch me play the original first, or else this is going to ruin the original for you. Like, this isn't, I was like, you're not going to love this as much as you would have loved the original. So I had to like stop her from watching it. So she saw me play the end because I couldn't help myself. And then I was like, no, you have to see the original first. Because at the end, she was just like, weren't you guys in a city? Like, what's going on with all, like, she was like, oh, okay. She's like, those things are cool looking.
I mean, that brings me to a topic that we discussed off air. But yeah, we discussed it at one point where we were like, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? And I think we kind of put together like, oh, maybe it was I'm going to use a Nomura term on you right now. It was unreality, where you stepped into this portal, and I think maybe you were given these superhuman abilities. Like Cloud was able to jump the size of a skyscraper and slice it in half. I don't know. He was able to do these things within this realm that they stepped into. And because if not, you step out on the field, you fight a goblin. What the, like, I should just be slicing through these things, no problem. You know what I mean? Like, I already took down fate itself. So what's a goblin gonna do? So I think I think that's going to be something that needs to be addressed. Like, unless if they just think the player is going to accept it, which I guess we will once we get the game and we're already fighting goblins and we're just doing standard combat, I guess.
How would you feel if the next game started out with Cloud asking Tifa or Barrett about all that crazy shit that just happened?
Right, they can't just
like,
forget about it, right?
And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, like
we already know Cloud. We already know Cloud was tripping. With it, we already know his mind's
Osby.
Messed up.
Come on, Osby, are you introducing a theory? Like I don't think I've ever heard that theory. That's it.
I'm serious,
interesting
man.
One.
Hey,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Let's be real. Let's be real for a second. Cloud's messed up. He's tripping. Yeah. He thinks he's somebody else. He thinks he's seeing. He's already seeing Sephiroth. I mean, that's just clones and capes, right? But he's seeing these Sephiroths. He sees Genova. All this is happening. How do we know that actually happened?
New idea for an OST cover band: Clothes and Capes.
I'm just saying. How do we know that the game doesn't start out? He's like, man, I can't believe that just happened. They're like, what are you talking about? We just got off the interstate. Now we're down in Midgar. It's raining. The steel sky's gone. You're tripping. Seeing visions of all these dude. You're seeing visions of all these dead people that are still dead. You think they're alive? You tripping. How do we know it's just not Genova messing with them? There you go. I don't mean to give you hope. I don't mean to give you hope.
Don't give me hope.
Please just let the whispers be a figment of his imagination, please.
Right.
Just think about it. Other people see him. Or at least Aerith.
The only other person that sees is Aerith, and she's in a time loop. I mean, come on.
It was like almost implied that Rufus saw him at the end, right? Like, it seemed like Rufus was aware.
I mean, he was also at Shinra where Genova was, so maybe it was the hallucination impacting him. Even actually,
Barrett
even if you look at the
them.
Even if you look at the Shinra, what was it? Description. Oh, he does. Yeah, and actually, I think Wedge. Maybe like only if they interact with you, you can see him or something. I don't.
Because in front of Seventh Heaven, Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud are all fighting them. And they're all reacting to them, but everybody else is
that could have been in his mind, right? Like, I guess
maybe, but I'm pretty sure Barrett has like yelled at them several times throughout the game. But everybody else in the town are like, what are those lunatics shooting at?
I mean, go back to Hojo's laboratory when Cloud like jumps at Sephiroth and the bridge breaks and Cloud falls, and then Hojo's like, it's working better than I thought it would, blah, 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 and the rest of the party's just like, So I mean, how do we not know that none of them's actually seeing it happen?
Or
I want to go back and play it again with that.
Right.
That's actually really interesting. Because Cloud wakes up when all that stuff happens. And it like maybe he was still kind of in his own dream. That's interesting. And if Barrett died, he didn't shoot blood out. He just kind of had a black smoke. If maybe Barrett didn't, maybe he was already doing his thing. Like he already, you know what I mean? Like he already did his thing. Like they walked in and they did see Shinra, but you're not seeing it. I don't know.
Sorry, Square Enix, for all you people out there that works at the company that's listening to this now. I'm just throwing this out there. There's still hope, baby. All you got to do is Cloud's just messed up, right? Just run with that.
I would be okay with that just because it does follow the original. Cloud has a very messed up mind.
I mean, he sees things. It's like canon. Kind of.
I just don't think so. I don't know how. Like I'd have to really just actually give that theory some thought, and I'm sure I'll be like, oh, Osby, no, dude. like that's not gonna work.
If that actually happens, we'll have a gentleman's bet right now. $5, right? So if that actually happens, you just send me $5. We're good.
I will gladly send you $5, Osby. Like, but I mean, hey, you know what? That's a really cool theory that I actually honestly don't think anybody's really thought of yet. At least I haven't seen it out there.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I think after this podcast is over, I think we're all going to think about it and we'll go, nah. But we'll I mean, for the time being, it's pretty cool to get that.
I gotta replay it just to see if it makes sense.
Yeah, right. I'm like now I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the whole entire like President Shinra scene. Like they were standing out there at the helicopter pad, and just like maybe when Cloud walks out, they're like, what's taking you so long here, dude? Like, what are you doing?
I mean, maybe they have the ability to show more of the power of Genova's hallucinations now.
Yeah, because in the original, like all they could do was make the screen go black and like have text pop up. But now if they're
Yeah.
like they really get you inside the mind of Cloud, like they did it in Midgar when you're walking through and like all of a sudden it's on fire and you see Sephiroth walking, like
Mhm.
that didn't happen. So I mean, it kind of backs the theory up a little bit. I don't want to like stay on that theory too long, but I mean, it's really good. But we are this has been a good one. This has been a very good one. I have really enjoyed talking about Final Fantasy VII with you guys, and it was just about as long as I thought it was going to be. I was trying to keep it
You have
moderated.
to hold that thought, Danny.
What's up, man?
One thing.
Yeah.
Where y'all sitting?
Oh, we got to play the Where Y'all Sitting game.
We got to do where y'all sitting.
Man.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right,
so much for reminding me. Let's go.
I know you love me.
My man.
All right. How about this? Randomly selected order. Only one person can choose a table.
Wait, so like, so if you're sitting there, there's no open spot?
Right. So if you go first,
okay.
so if you go first and you pick a table or a seat, no one else can pick that spot.
That's interesting.
Unless you're a commenter, you can comment.
Oh
where you would sit.
Yeah. Well, there's not enough seats for 177 subscribers.
First come, first serve.
There's seats for everyone. All right. Okay, let me bring up the image so that way we can look at it. All right. Go back to Zoom. Where's it at? Come on, guys. There it is. All right. So share screen. There it is. Okay. Where y'all sitting? Final Fantasy VII Edition. I love it. Reed came up with a new little twist on it. So we're going to go randomly selected order. And then, yeah, if one of us is sitting at the table, the other person cannot. All right. So that's only one seat open at each table. And who arrives first? How are we going to randomize it, Reed?
So I have a couple ideas.
I think there's a number randomizer. Let me see. We can go like
if you can just find an app to do like /roll4.
Like 1 through 4. Here we go. 1 through 4, because there's 4 people in our thing here. Generating results. It's 4. Read your first, since you're the 4th one in the thing. So you get to choose your table first.
Oh man, look at this.
All right. So for audio listeners, I would like to explain who's sitting at the tables. So at table 1, this is at 7th Heaven and at Tifa's bar. Tifa is obviously the bartender, Cloud and Aerith. So that's going to be a fun little love triangle that you gotta, maybe it might be a little awkward. I don't know. So 1 is Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. 2, they all share something in common. It is Zack, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Then at table number 3, it is Red, 13, and Bugenhagen. Then over at table number 5, we have Yuffie. We have Kate C. Sith. I don't know. I'm calling Kate Sith. I like that. And we have Reeve. Okay.
Hop over to table 4. You skipped that.
Did I skip table 4? I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. Table number 4. Oh boy, this is at another bar over at the Wall Market bar. This is President Shinra, Barrett Wallace, and Sid Highwind. That would be an interesting one. At table number 6, we have all of the Turks: Sung, Elena, Rude, and Reno. Then over at table number 8, we have Palmer, Heidegger, Rufus Shinra, Don Corneo, and Scarlet. All right, guys. So
and then at 7,
right in the middle of the room.
And look, I don't know how to count. At 7, maybe I was saving 7 for last. All right, guys. Says it's 7 is Sephiroth, Hojo, and Vincent. Boy, what a table there.
Man, I'm torn. I got 2 that I'm torn on, but since I have 2 choices, I'm gonna go with table 2. I'm gonna sit with Biggs, Wedge, Jesse, and Zach.
Son of a bitch.
Haha.
Wow.
Suck it, nerd.
Okay. He goes, what are you guys going to talk about there?
I'm
just gonna sit down and just go like, I'm sorry.
Do some palm readings. Like, I got a good feeling about you. I just feel like that'd be a lot of, that'd be a fun table, man. They're here for a good time, not a long time.
This will be the day that I die.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys.
Chevy to the levee.
Yeah.
All right, table number 2 is out.
Table number 2 is out. Reed is
who's
occupying the seat with Zach, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Random generator says number 3, and that's Vinny. Vinny, what's up, man? Where are you sitting? Where y'all sitting?
I'm sitting at table 4 with President Shinra, Barrett, and Sid.
Oh boy,
and they'll argue who got stabbed best.
Oh no.
So,
oh my god,
so,
what a conversation.
So Sid, I told you guys this in chat. Sid is my Bugenhagen. He is my guide and my all-knowing all-father.
Animal.
Yeah, and so I think it would be cool to like listen to Sid and Barrett completely just like, I have to say it, just shit on President Shinra for
I can't get up either. You got to sit there.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. If Barrett was John Eric Bentley, 4 would be a tough choice because I could talk to that dude for days.
But just, Sid and Barrett both have reasons to hate Shinra, and they're both very animated and outgoing about their hatred towards Shinra. So it would just be a good time. And they're sitting at the bar, I believe. No. Are the Turks sitting at the bar?
The Turk.
I don't know.
Well, they're sitting at the bar
by the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen or whatever.
Well, I do love to eat, so I could sit next to a kitchen all day. So I'm going with table 4.
Table 4, man. That would that would be such a interesting conversation to be part of. Let's go with random generator. It is 1, so that's me. I'm gonna go. All right, you guys already have 2. We have 4, which makes it a little easier for me because I wouldn't want to sit there.
I know the 2 that you're choosing from.
Look, all right, guys. So I'm going.
Same.
It's probably going to be a little different than what you think here. Okay, because I'm sitting at table number 1 with my boy Cloud. I got Tifa and Aerith. All right, it's going to be an awkward conversation. You have a little love triangle thing going on. But listen, tension. Cloud can only have 1, and I would like to be there. You know what I mean?
For the other. Yeah.
Off the record, I see what you're doing there.
You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I would like just to be the the 4th wheel there for just a bit. I'll make it a nice little love rectangle. You know what I mean?
Just a
little love
just
square.
Make sure Laura's sitting at like table 8 or something.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Hey, just as long as you're whispering about it, you're good, right?
Yeah, we're in a different room. This is we're in 7th heaven. There, she's over in Walmart. Yeah, I would like to be there to Cloud can only have 1. You know what I mean?
I love your logic.
With being the last one, and so when I look at this, I see 2 tables that are tension triangles.
Yes,
and you took one of them. So for the opposite reason, I got to go for table number 7.
Oh God,
there's so much tension at that table.
Daddy issues
with daddy issues with Sephiroth, Hojo, and Vincent, and not for the same reason you chose table number 1. I want to see how quiet table 7 would be.
Until it's not quiet.
Until it's not.
Until Osby breaks the silence.
I like to imagine they get like an appetizer, like a sampler platter, something like that, and like as Vincent's going to reach for something, Sephiroth just reaches out and it's like, "Tell me what you love most, so I can take it from you." It's like, no, my fried pickles, no.
How pissed off would table 7 be? If in the middle of eating a salad, I throw my head back and yell, Lucrezia!
That's how you break the silence. That's how you break the silence. You're just
how pissed off would they be?
So, guys, how about Lucrezia? Huh?
Anyone got any bad exes?
Ain't even mad.
Yo, so I think we can all agree that like number 8 would have just been a terrible time. Like,
Yeah, that's
just-
I feel bad for Scarlet.
I mean,
and
table 3 was a second choice for me that I would have taken.
Yeah, same.
yeah, I didn't want to
Yeah.
take that from MJ Gallagher.
Yeah, so
But
MJ
that-
Gallagher, yeah, he said he wanted to be part of that one. I mean, that's where the lore and the knowledge is, you know what I mean? So if you're you're Mo or Schrodinger's baby seal, I don't know his real name, but yeah, if you're those guys, Cosmo Canyon Observatory, that's number 3, I'm sure. Yeah, we had a few comments.
Number 5 was just confusing. Two of them are the same person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it bothers me a little bit
What'd you say though? What bothers you a little bit?
that
Table
two of them are the same person.
Table 5. It's
Yeah,
it's Reeve and Kate
he's
Sith,
just sitting there,
so-
just like controlling his
like,
his avatar.
are you on your phone? No, I'm
No,
actually
no.
controlling the cat.
No, don't worry about it.
It's the
don't worry
worst date ever.
It's just
Always
creeping on Yuffie and Reese's
It's
like, oh, it's not
16-year-old
me.
Yuffie.
Or that's what I meant. Yeah.
I think that's for the kiddos. You know what I mean? You can have the kids table there. That's the kids table. They would have a good time. You know, like you got the comedy aspect, and you have Tifa the youngin, or not Tifa. I'm sorry, Yuffie. The youngin.
Yuffie.
I'm sitting over here trying to find the one that Mo shared, and there was a lot of comments on Mo's shared post. So let me just do that real quick, and then we'll close out the show. Here we go. Bring this up. Yep, mythology and Final Fantasy, guys. So if you want to check out Mo's page on Facebook, it's FF Mythology. Let's see. Let's go. He shared it. Oh God, I don't know where it's at, bro. Anyways, I don't want to waste too much time. We've already been talking for so long.
Almost 4 hours.
Yeah,
Over 4 hours.
maybe it wasn't mythology. Maybe it was I don't know. Anyways, all right, guys. Well, I can't find it, and there's a lot of good. It's fine. It's fine. There's a lot of good comments
we'll
there.
To get comments here. Yeah, we'll just have to get comments on ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring the comments over here onto the YouTube channel here. I will read through all of them. The rest of the party will as well. We want to hear your
Let us know why we're
Final
wrong.
Fantasy VII story. Yeah, we want to hear what your unfiltered thoughts on Remake is. We want to nobody's going to judge you. Say what you feel about Remake, and I don't care if you love it. Great, I love it too. I just don't.
What was your favorite quotes of the cast today, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, what was your favorite quotes? Eat a bag or click the right stick.
Eat a bag.
Click the right stick. Fake Zach.
Don't
Fake
get me
Zach,
started on that whole
baby fake Zach. The fake Zach,
one of
baby.
these days we'll talk about some songs I wrote in the past, but not today. One of these days.
we'll have to have one on the show.
You got to remind me.
The Old Town
Fair.
Road Final Fantasy Final Fantasy version, guys. I know you were working on it. Oh man,
We're getting there.
we're getting there. All right, guys. Well, that has been a really, really fun conversation. Probably one of my favorites because it was Final Fantasy VII. I know we talk about Final Fantasy VII a lot on the show, that and Final Fantasy 16, but hey, we have Final Fantasy 10 we want to talk about. Maybe when Final Podcast 10 comes up, I'm sure we'll do a special for that as well. It was another one of our top favorites.
And I have a lot to say about Final Fantasy X.
Oh,
so
wait.
fun.
For Final Podcast 8, we can just dedicate the whole thing to why Squall's C tier.
Dedicate the whole thing to restructuring that tier list. So
What is
Squall can be a
dead may
little
never
higher.
die.
we can dedicate
Sad may never die.
we can dedicate episode 12 to completely reshaping Vaughn's character.
Yeah,
to
let's make
him
Vaughn a better
somebody
character.
actually,
Like that would be the title of Final Podcast 12, Making Vaughn Better.
right?
Making Vaughn actually matter in the story.
Final
New
Fantasy
Vaughn
12
is-
Vaughn remake.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This will probably be a 2-part. So this is probably going to be Final Podcast VII Remake.
You got
Yeah,
jokes.
I got
definitely
you.
have title of that.
You got jokes.
Because you can
Just for-
split it at where we start with the remake too.
Just-
with
just-
Yeah. It's gonna start with the remake unfiltered discussion. I'm thinking either just Final Fantasy VII Remake or Final Podcast VII Remake.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Not even
Could
do
just
it
all
dash,
be a figment
dash
of your
two.
imagination, Daniel.
Yeah.
Could be, man.
All right. This has been great, guys. Thank you so much for talking. Man, wow, 4:00 p.m. over here. We started at 12.
Ain't
You
even
you guys have been great. Thank you so
My
much.
wife is, but I'm not.
Oh God, I can imagine.
Shh.
Hey yo,
If you guys
Oopsie
don't see
Daisy
me-
girl. Hey,
if
if she come
you-
out, why were you on the podcast stuff? So just say to her, just simply say, "Hey yo, Oopsie Daisy girl." And she says, "What?" You just say "Oosies." All right, Oosie Daisies. All right.
And
Makupo.
that-
Oopsie Daisy Makupo.
And
Oopsie
that,
Daisy,
everyone,
Kupo.
is how you end a marriage.
Oopsie
Come on,
Daisy.
give
yeah.
Kupo a break.
Just laugh like Titus and Yuna.
Yeah.
Just like cuts to the courtroom at the divorce trial.
But I love my wife.
Hey yo,
guys.
I told her Oosies. I told her
Right.
Oosie Daisy. Jesus, guys. All right. Oh, you wanted to say? Go ahead and say it, man. You love your wife.
Oh, I did, but I
Yeah.
love my wife.
Yeah. I love my wife too. All right, man. Let's
Right.
get that out on there. All right, ready? I'm gonna go
And cut.
and save game.
Just end it on a. But I love my wife.
After we talk about video games for 4 hours, we have to just end.
I love my wife. End of court recording.
She's probably standing on the other side of the door listening right now.
Daniel's
Both
gonna.
kids.
Daniel's just gonna
Go
edit that
roller.
at the
And
end
you-
of every
you-
episode.
You guys see the door over there? She's probably standing on the side of that fucking
I haven't
door.
ended this recording. All
She's
of
got
this
like
will
a-
be in it.
She's just got like a bucket
Oh,
full of
goddamn.
scorpions. She's at the door. She's just gonna chuck it at you.
Just to save Osby, Daniel's gonna play this at the end of every episode. It's just gonna say it's every
I love my
episode,
wife.
I love my wife.
Oh, wait, you know how like end credits for like shows and stuff, they have like the production company, and it's like for like Chappelle show, it's like it was like the llama where it's like, why thank you. It should just be Osby doing a thumbs up, like I love my wife.
Special thanks to our wives.
I love my wife Productions.
She's changing it. I love my wife TV. This is what
Happily
this
Married
channel is.
Incorporated.
I'm gonna pull back the curtain and she's gonna be standing there with both kids, standing like. Really? All right, guys. That is
So-
gonna do it. Thank you so much for what's up, Osby. I don't want to cut you off, man. You have to say you love your wife again.
Oh no! I thought we were already done. Shit.
No, I
Okay.
haven't signed off. All of this stays.
Oh, well,
All right, ladies and
it's
gentlemen,
nice knowing all you fellas.
fellas, love your wives.
Love your wives, all right?
There's one thing to take away from this 4-hour discussion.
They the real MVP, like no one ever was.
All right, should I end this
Those
podcast?
guys
now?
will prenup.
Yeah.
I hope this is gonna be the
Let's
best outro ever. You know what I mean? All
Yep.
right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching Final Podcast 7. We hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time with Final Podcast 8. I'm clicking. We're gonna get the animation for this one day. I will go bloop, beep, bloop. Going to save game, and now save game. We're out. Thank you. Bye bye.